Starlight Academy floated above a quiet blue moon, shining like a jewel in the dark space around it. Ships of many shapes came and went each day, carrying young students from dozens of alien species. Some were tall with glowing eyes, some had wings, some had scales, and some looked almost human. The academy was meant for peace, friendship, and learning, though it was also full of the noise and excitement that students from different worlds always brought with them. In the middle of all this, a girl named Lyra moved through the crowds with a confident step. She belonged to a species called the Solari, known for clever minds, sharp senses, and a long history of star travel. Lyra had bright purple skin, a high ponytail that shimmered like liquid metal, and blue eyes that sparkled whenever she was amused. And she was amused very often. Lyra loved teasing people. It was her favorite hobby at the academy. She teased her friends, teased her teachers in harmless ways, teased strangers whenever she felt bored. She never meant true harm. She simply liked seeing people react. She enjoyed poking fun at anything strange or unusual. And nothing at Starlight Academy seemed more strange or unusual to her than the quiet human boy who arrived at the start of the new term. His name was Evan Hale. Lyra first saw him standing at the entrance gate, holding a simple earth backpack that looked ancient compared to the sleek bags everyone else carried. He wore plain clothes with no glowing symbols, no nanotech threads, no color-changing badges. His shoes were normal shoes, not gravity-stable boots. His hair was brown and messy. And he stood with a posture that suggested he didn't want to attract attention. He looked so incredibly simple. Lyra smiled the moment she saw him. A new human student? That was rare. Earth did not send many students to the academy. Most alien species believed Earth was still catching up to galactic knowledge, and humans themselves preferred to stay close to home. The boy's arrival caught Lyra's interest immediately. She walked toward him with her usual playful confidence. "First day?" she asked him with a grin. "You look lost. You humans always get confused in big places." The boy looked at her calmly. His eyes were warm brown, and his expression showed no irritation at all. "I am not lost," he said in a gentle voice. "I am just taking in the view." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "The view?" "This is only the entrance." "It's still new to me," he replied, his smile small but sincere. Lyra found his slow, calm way of speaking funny. Most students were nervous or excited on their first day. This human looked like he had seen everything already. She decided then and there that teasing him would become her new entertainment. She walked beside him as he entered the academy halls. "What's in your bag?" she asked, poking it lightly. "Old Earth snacks? Primitive tools?" She giggled before he could answer. "Maybe you brought rocks from your planet?" He simply smiled again. "Books," he said. "I like paper books." That made her laugh loudly. "Paper? No digital reader?" "I prefer the feeling of paper," Evan replied. Lyra couldn't understand it at all, but she found it amusing. She had met humans before, but they usually tried to act modern to fit in with the galaxy. This one? He was different. He didn't try to hide his simplicity. He didn't act embarrassed about it either. Their first class together was interstellar history. The classroom was huge, with floating screens and transparent walls showing the stars outside. Students whispered as the new boy entered. Many stared at him the way one stared at an old machine in a modern lab, with curiosity and confusion. Humans had a reputation for being emotional and unpredictable, but they also had a reputation for being a little behind. Lyra sat beside Evan because she wanted to see what kind of reactions she could spark in him during class. When the teacher, Professor Ravel, introduced Evan to the class, Lyra watched closely. The professor was a tall being with shimmering skin that shifted color when he spoke. He usually treated new students like children who needed guidance. But when he looked at Evan, something strange happened. He paused, only for a moment, but Lyra saw it clearly. It was a tiny moment of recognition, a small, surprised spark in the professor's eyes, as if he knew something about this human that the rest of the class didn't. Then his expression returned to normal. "Please welcome Evan Hale from Earth," he said calmly. Lyra frowned. Why would the professor react like that? Evan didn't look special. He looked ordinary, almost too ordinary. As class went on, Evan listened quietly, took notes on paper, and answered questions only when asked. His answers were short, but always accurate. He didn't show off. He didn't seem nervous. He didn't even seem bothered by Lyra whispering playful comments to him whenever he made a mistake in spelling some alien name. "You humans really love simple words," she whispered when he struggled with a long galactic term. Evan only smiled and nodded. "Maybe, but I'll learn it." She expected him to get annoyed. Most people did. But he stayed calm every time, which made Lyra even more curious and confused. Why didn't he react? Why didn't he defend himself or get embarrassed? His calmness was a mystery. During lunch, Lyra followed Evan again. The cafeteria was massive, with floating tables and food from across the galaxy. Evan picked a small, plain meal from the human option counter, while Lyra grabbed a plate of glowing fruits from her planet. She sat across from him without asking. "So," she began, leaning forward, "why did you even come here? Earth isn't known for sending students far from home." Evan took a bite of his simple food. "I came to learn." "That's it?" "That's it." Lyra found him fascinating for all the wrong reasons. He was too calm, too plain, too honest. Most students tried to impress others on the first day. Evan didn't seem to care at all. She poked his arm lightly. "You know, humans aren't exactly famous for being smart in the galaxy. Some species think humans are still learning the basics." "I know," Evan said, "but humans learn fast." There it was again, that strange confidence hidden inside his quiet voice. Lyra didn't know why, but it made her stop teasing for a moment. It was like he knew something she didn't. Later that day, Lyra watched him in the simulation hall. Students practiced using advanced tools to solve problems in holographic environments. Most beginners struggled. Evan stepped into the room, looked around, and then quietly completed the beginner simulation in record time. His movements were smooth but not flashy. He didn't look proud or surprised. He simply finished it like it was normal. Lyra blinked several times. How did a human do that so quickly? She approached him again. "Have you used these systems before?" "No," he said calmly. "But I learned how they work after watching the others." "Just by watching?" "Yes." Lyra stared at him. Even the smartest students needed time to understand these tools. Evan understood them in minutes. How? Before she could ask more, he walked away with that same quiet politeness. The rest of the day only made Lyra more curious. Evan was polite to everyone, but he rarely spoke unless someone asked him something. He paid attention in every class, wrote notes with old-fashioned handwriting, and never bragged even when he solved difficult tasks faster than others. The teachers seemed impressed by him, but they tried to hide it. Lyra noticed small things, the way one teacher's eyes widened when Evan solved a problem, the way another teacher watched him leave the room as if thinking about something important. It was subtle, but it was there. The more Lyra saw, the more she felt confused. Her simple human classmate wasn't simple at all, but he also wasn't trying to show anything special. He was a mystery wrapped in plain clothes and quiet smiles. That night, Lyra returned to her dorm room, still thinking about the new human. She sat on her bed, swinging her legs, staring at the ceiling. Why did Evan act so calm even when teased? Why did he understand difficult tasks so quickly? Why did the teachers look at him differently? And why? Why did she feel guilty when she teased him now? She never felt guilty before. She sighed and fell back on her bed. Tomorrow, she decided, she would watch him even more closely. She wanted answers, and she wanted to know what made this human so quietly strange. Evan Hale, the boy who seemed ordinary, had just become the most interesting puzzle Lyra had ever found in her life. The next morning began like any normal day at Starlight Academy, but Lyra woke up earlier than usual. She was full of curiosity, excitement, and a strange feeling she didn't fully understand. She tried to convince herself she was only interested in Evan because he was a mystery, a puzzle. Something she couldn't figure out yet. Nothing more. But as she walked quickly through the academy halls, she knew she was thinking much more about him than she normally thought about any classmate. When she reached the first class of the day, Evan was already there, sitting in the same quiet spot near the window. He was reading one of his paper books again. The pages looked old, almost fragile, but he handled them with gentle care. Lyra approached him slowly, almost carefully, then caught herself. Why was she being careful? It wasn't her style. She shook her head, returned to her usual bold manner, and sat beside him without an invitation. "What are you reading?" she asked, leaning closer. "A book about old Earth inventions," he answered softly. "It helps me understand how humans solved problems before advanced technology." Lyra snorted lightly. "You mean before basic technology? Your planet was late to join the galaxy, you know." He nodded, never offended. "Yes, but humans learn fast, sometimes faster than expected." There was that same calm tone again, a tone that made Lyra curious instead of amused. She wanted to ask more questions, but the teacher entered and the class began. Throughout the lesson, Lyra kept sneaking glances at Evan. She noticed how he focused deeply on everything. He never let distractions pull him away, not even when students whispered or laughed around him. His concentration was unbreakable. It was like he lived in a quiet world of his own where noise couldn't touch him. The teacher gave the class a difficult logic test. Many students sighed or grumbled. Lyra frowned at the questions. They were tricky even for her species, who prided themselves on their intelligence. Evan finished the entire test in half the time. He placed his paper on the teacher's desk and returned to his seat. No one else had completed even half of it. Lyra leaned toward him. "You solved it already?" "Yes," he replied. "Did you memorize those types of problems before?" "No," he said with a small shake of his head. "They just made sense." She stared at him again, confused. How did everything seem to just make sense to him? Humans were known for creativity and emotion, not this level of logic. Something didn't add up. The next class was energy systems. It involved learning how to work with controlled plasma, a dangerous but essential technology. Students wore protective gear and followed strict instructions. Lyra worked well with energy tools, but she sometimes got a little excited and rushed steps, earning scolds from the instructor. Evan, however, handled everything with steady hands. He read instructions once and understood them completely. His movements were slow, careful, perfect. When the instructor asked him to perform a complex balancing task that most new students failed, Evan did it calmly and flawlessly. The instructor's eyebrows rose slightly. "Very precise," he said. "You've used these systems before?" "No," Evan answered. "But you already understand them well?" "I try my best," he said simply. Again, no pride, no boasting, just quiet honesty. During lunch, Lyra walked with Evan again, though this time she tried not to tease him. Something inside her felt different. She wasn't sure why, but the more she learned about him, the less she wanted to treat him like an easy target. "You're good at everything," she finally said, tapping her fruit cup with her finger. "All the classes, the tests, the simulations. Most students need weeks or months to reach your level." "I'm not good at everything," Evan said. "I still have much to learn." "But you learn so fast," Lyra insisted. Faster than me, faster than most alien species. How? He looked thoughtful for a moment. Then he said, Humans adapt quickly. It's something built into us. She shook her head. No, this is different. You're different. Evan lowered his eyes to his food, not trying to argue, not trying to explain. Lyra felt frustrated. She wanted answers. She wanted to understand him. Why did he act like nothing he did was special? Later in the day, the students moved to the science lab for a hands-on lesson. They worked with miniature energy cores used in starship engineering. The instructor warned them to follow all safety steps carefully. Even a small mistake could make the cores unstable. Lyra worked beside Evan again. She followed the instructions and assembled the pieces with skill, but she saw Evan completing each step with almost perfect intuition. He didn't rush. He didn't hesitate. He didn't look confused for even a second. Then the unexpected happened. A student from another table dropped a component, causing an energy core nearby to spark violently. The lab filled with a sharp buzzing sound, and lights flickered. Students screamed and backed away. The instructor ran forward, shouting for everyone to stay at a distance. The core glowed brighter and brighter, unstable, seconds away from a dangerous burst. Before Lyra could even react, Evan moved. He stepped forward with calm steps, as if the situation wasn't dangerous at all. The instructor shouted at him to stop, but he didn't pause. He reached the shaking device and placed his hands near the surface, not touching it, just sensing it. Lyra held her breath. Her heart raced. Why was he so calm? Evan adjusted 2 small stabilizers on the sides, then moved a final switch near the base, a switch even advanced students rarely used because it was hidden behind protective metal. The core instantly calmed. The room fell silent. The instructor stared at him with shock and something else, something very close to recognition. The same kind of hidden recognition Lyra had seen earlier. How did you know what to do? The instructor asked quietly. Evan stepped back, his expression unchanged. I studied the manual. Lyra shook her head. She had seen the manual. It was long and confusing with thousands of technical lines. Even she couldn't learn it in one day. The instructor slowly nodded, but his eyes didn't leave Evan. It was obvious he didn't fully believe that explanation. After everyone returned to their tables, Lyra grabbed Evan's sleeve and pulled him aside. Her tone was firm, but not angry. Enough. You have to tell me the truth. He blinked. About what? About you. Humans don't learn this fast. Humans don't fix energy cores like that. Teachers don't look at normal students the way they look at you. Something is different. Something is strange. You're hiding something. Evan looked at her hand on his sleeve. She pulled it away quickly, embarrassed. He didn't seem bothered. But he was silent for a long moment. Lyra waited, feeling her heartbeat rise. She didn't know why she cared so much, but she did. She needed to know who he really was. Finally, Evan said, It's not something I talk about. But why? She insisted. You're not in trouble. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just strange. I know, he said softly. Then tell me, please. She didn't expect her voice to sound so gentle. It surprised even her. Evan looked at her with a thoughtful expression, like he was deciding whether to trust her. It was the first time she saw hesitation in him. The calm, unshaken boy looked like he was standing at the edge of an important choice. Lyra held her breath again. After a long pause, Evan said, Let's talk later. Somewhere quiet. Lyra nodded immediately. Okay, I'll wait. The rest of the day felt slow. Lyra couldn't focus in class. She kept thinking about Evan's words. What did he mean? What was he hiding? Why did he act like he carried a heavy secret? When classes ended, Evan met her near the academy's observation window, where the stars stretched endlessly in the dark sky. He stood there silently, watching the distant glow of galaxies. Lyra approached him carefully. "Evan, are you ready to tell me?" He looked at her, then at the stars again. "Yes," he said in a quiet voice. "I think you deserve to know. And maybe I'm tired of hiding." Lyra felt her chest tighten. She didn't know whether she was afraid or excited. Evan took a slow breath. "My origin is not what you think." And the truth he was about to share would change everything she believed about humans. And about him. The stars outside the giant window of Starlight Academy looked calm, peaceful, and endless. Soft white light from the galaxy spilled through the glass, painting the floor in gentle colors. Lyra stood there beside Evan, feeling nervous in a way she had never felt before. She had teased many people. She had joked with everyone, but she had never waited so seriously for someone's truth. Evan stood with both hands in his pockets, staring out into the star-filled sky. For once, he did not look calm. His shoulders were a little tense, and his eyes were full of something she couldn't name. She watched him for a moment before speaking. "Evan, it's okay. I won't judge you." He nodded slowly, but didn't turn. "I know. That's why I decided to tell you." She stepped a little closer, her voice soft. "Then say it. Who are you really?" Evan was quiet for a long time, as if collecting the right words. Then he finally spoke. "I am human," he said, "but not the way you think, not the way most aliens think." Lyra waited. Her eyes locked on him. She felt her heart beating fast. "There is a part of Earth," Evan continued, "that the galaxy doesn't know about, a part hidden from everyone. Not a place, really. More like a secret group. A lineage of people trained for generations." Lyra frowned slightly. "Trained for what?" "For understanding," Evan said. "Understanding the universe. Understanding ourselves. Understanding other species. My family comes from that lineage." Lyra tried to process that. She knew Earth was famous for creativity and emotion, not secret programs. "Why hide something like that?" she asked. "Because humans are afraid," Evan said quietly. "Afraid of showing too much too soon. Afraid that other species might think humans are trying to become powerful or dangerous. So Earth kept this part of our history a secret." Lyra folded her arms. She wasn't sure she believed him. Yet she sensed no lies in his voice. Everything about Evan had always been honest. "What kind of training is this?" she asked carefully. Evan finally turned toward her. His face was serious. "Training the mind, training memory, training focus, training emotional control, and training to learn anything quickly." Lyra blinked. It explained many things, but she still couldn't imagine humans doing it. "Your people trained you since you were a child?" "All my life," he said. "Books, puzzles, logic, languages, even old Earth methods of discipline. Slow breathing, observation, thought control, every day." "So that's why you are so calm?" "Yes," Evan said. "It's not because I don't feel things. It's because I was taught how to understand them instead of react." Lyra suddenly remembered how he always smiled gently when teased, never angry, never sad. She remembered how he handled stress like nothing could shake him. Now she understood. It wasn't natural. It was trained. "But why send you here?" Lyra asked. "Why to Starlight Academy?" "Because Earth wants to join the galaxy fully," Evan answered. "And someone needed to understand alien culture deeply. Someone who could learn without getting overwhelmed. Someone who could live among many species without fear." "And they chose you," Lyra whispered. "Yes, but not because I'm special," he added quickly. "I'm just one of many. My family is large. My ancestors trained their children for generations, passing down knowledge quietly. Earth's leaders knew that sending one of us would be safer than sending an unprepared human." Lyra stepped back slightly, trying to take in the weight of his words. Earth had kept a secret for centuries, a secret about a hidden group of highly trained humans, a secret even the galaxy didn't know. She felt dizzy. For once, she had no joke to make. Evan continued softly. My real purpose here is simple: to learn, to watch, to understand how humans can live peacefully with other species. I'm not here to impress anyone. I'm not here to show power. I'm only here to learn. But you solved the core, Lyra said quickly. You were faster than the teachers. That wasn't normal. He looked down at his hands. I didn't mean to stand out, but the device was dangerous. I knew how to stabilize something like that because I studied old Earth engineering. Some of it is similar. That's still not normal, she whispered. No, he admitted. It's not normal for regular humans, but it is normal for people like me. We were trained to understand technology fast, even alien technology. Lyra felt mixed emotions: surprise, confusion, guilt, but also something new. Respect. Deep respect. Evan had never bragged about anything. He hid his skills. He acted simple on purpose. He tried to blend in. She remembered how she had teased him so casually on the first day, the embarrassing jokes, the silly comments. She felt heat rise in her face. I made fun of you, she said quietly. A lot. And you were carrying all this. You were hiding something heavy and I just... He shook his head. You didn't know. But still... I didn't mind, Evan said gently. I've been teased before. Many people misunderstand humans. It doesn't hurt me. Lyra didn't know why, but that made her chest tighten. She didn't want him to be okay with being teased. She didn't want him to be so calm and forgiving all the time. It made her feel like she had been unfair. I wouldn't tease you if I knew, she said softly. You don't have to change, Evan replied. You were just being yourself. I like that you're honest and curious. Lyra looked at him, surprised again. You like that? Evan nodded. You didn't avoid me. You didn't pretend to be polite only to hide your real feelings. You were direct. It made me trust you. Lyra stared at him, stunned. She had never expected those words. She had never thought her teasing could make someone trust her. Usually, it only annoyed people. Evan turned back to the window. You must understand. This secret must stay between us. If other students know, they might treat me differently. And if certain alien groups learn about my lineage, they might misunderstand Earth. I won't tell anyone, Lyra said quickly. I promise. I won't say a word. He smiled softly. Thank you. Silence followed, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt calm, warm, peaceful. Lyra suddenly realized something. This was the first time she saw Evan as more than the simple human boy. Now she saw a person who carried responsibility, discipline, and secrets deeper than she had imagined. She felt a strange pride rising inside her. She was the first to know. He trusted her more than anyone else. It made her chest feel warm. After a few moments, Lyra broke the silence. So, this lineage of yours, does it have a name? Evan hesitated. Not officially, but in old Earth records it was called Project Deepline. Deepline? Lyra repeated. It sounds mysterious. It was meant to be, Evan said. Earth didn't want the galaxy to see humans as ambitious. They wanted people like me to exist quietly, to help when needed, to learn without drawing attention. And what about the teachers? She asked suddenly. Why do they look at you strangely? Evan sighed. Some of them know. The Academy receives reports from Earth's government. Not all. But some teachers are told to watch me and guide me. Lyra blinked. So they knew everything the whole time? Not everything, he said quickly. Only enough to understand why I learn fast. They are not allowed to tell other students, or even talk to me directly about it. Lyra felt a wave of frustration. She had been teasing a boy who even teachers respected secretly. Evan looked at her expression and smiled. "It's not as serious as it sounds. I'm still just a student like everyone else." "You're not," she said firmly. "You're something different." He laughed softly. "Different isn't always special." "It is for you," she said without thinking. He paused, eyes softening. "Thank you." They stood together for a few moments, watching the dark sky outside. Lyra felt closer to him than she had ever felt to anyone. After a few minutes, Evan spoke again. "There's more I need to tell you, but not today. Not all at once." Lyra nodded. "Whenever you're ready." As they walked back toward the dorm halls, she felt something new in the air, a quiet connection, a silent understanding. She no longer saw Evan as the target she could tease for fun. She saw him as someone important, someone carrying something heavy and lonely, and she promised herself she would stand beside him from now on. What neither of them knew was that very soon, Evan's secret would be tested, and Lyra would find herself defending him, not teasing him. Because the Academy was about to face a challenge that only one human boy from a hidden Earth lineage could handle. The sun of Yalora Prime rose slowly, shining pale blue light across the training grounds of the Galactic Academy. The battle from yesterday still echoed in many minds, but today the Academy felt calm. Perhaps it was because the danger had passed. Perhaps it was because students finally knew what humans were truly capable of. Or perhaps it was because one boy, the quiet human named Jace Ward, had stood between destruction and survival. Zira walked alone on one of the high walkways. Her footsteps felt slower today, thoughtful. She kept replaying the scenes in her mind, how Jace had stepped forward, how the cosmic energy had wrapped around him like an old friend, how his voice sounded steady even when the enemy threatened everything. She remembered how everyone froze, but he didn't. She remembered how she once teased him, thinking he was weak, simple, soft. How foolish that idea now seemed. A faint hum approached. Zira turned her head. Jace walked toward her, shoulders still relaxed as if he carried no weight, though everyone knew he carried many. His jacket was torn from yesterday's battle, yet he didn't seem to care. His expression was calm, as always. "You're up early," he said, stopping beside her. "I could say the same," Zira replied softly. For a moment they stood silently, looking over the huge academy campus below. Ships moved in and out of docking bays. Students walked in small groups, talking excitedly about the events from yesterday. Some students already practiced controlling their abilities, moved by the inspiration Jace had given them. "Everyone is talking about you," Zira said. He shrugged. "They'll stop eventually." She studied him. "You really think so?" "I hope so," he said with a small smile. "I didn't save them to be praised. I did it because it needed to be done." Zira sighed. "Sometimes I don't understand you." "It's okay," he said. "Sometimes I don't understand myself either." The wind brushed lightly against them. Zira's tail twitched slightly, something she did whenever she felt uncertain. After a quiet minute, she said, "When you used that cosmic field, the way it wrapped around you, it felt ancient, like the galaxy had been waiting for you." He shook his head. "It wasn't like that. It wasn't destiny or fate. It was choice. That's all humans really have. We choose to stand, even when we're scared." Zira exhaled slowly. "You know, when I first met you, I thought you were boring." He laughed softly. "You made that very clear." "But you never stopped being calm," she said. "You never fought back when I teased you. You never showed your anger or frustration. Now I understand why. You were hiding something bigger than your feelings." "Not hiding," Jace corrected gently. "Just waiting for the right time." Zyra looked at him with a strange warmth in her eyes. I am glad I got to see it." Before Jace could respond, a loud chime echoed across the academy. A message hologram appeared above the courtyard. "All students report to the Grand Hall for an emergency assembly," the AI voice announced. "Attendance is mandatory." Jace exchanged a quick glance with Zira. "Let's go," he said. They walked down the walkway and entered the crowded hall. Hundreds of students filled the seats, different species, shapes, heights, colors, yet all quiet with anticipation. The Galactic Council members appeared at the front, their robes bright with authority. High Chancellor Rovan stepped forward. "Students," he began, "yesterday we witnessed a threat that nearly destroyed our academy and perhaps much more. But we also witnessed something else, an act of courage that changed our understanding of humanity." Many heads turned toward Jace. He felt uncomfortable. Rovan continued, "Humanity was removed from our historical records long ago when their homeworld fell into silence. We believed they were lost, but yesterday proved we were mistaken." Zyra watched Jace's expression carefully. His jaw tightened just slightly. "We have contacted the surviving human enclaves across the systems," Rovan said. "And they responded. They recognized the name Ward." The room murmured. "They said," Rovan continued, "that if the galaxy needs them again, they will answer." Jace closed his eyes for a second. Zira felt something stir inside her, pride mixed with worry. Rovan then turned directly toward Jace. "Jace Ward, step forward." Jace hesitated but walked toward the front. Every pair of eyes followed him. Rovan placed his hand on Jace's shoulder. "You protected this academy when no one else could. You stood against a threat that ancient species feared, and you did it without anger, without fear, and without hesitation." Jace's voice was steady. "Anyone would have done the same." "No," Rovan said. "Not anyone. And that is why the Council extends to you an offer." The lights dimmed slightly. The Council members raised their hands, projecting a hologram. A symbol appeared, a silver spiral surrounded by 7 broken stars. Students gasped. "That is the mark of the Vanguard Order," someone whispered. Zira's eyes widened. Even she had heard of them. They were not a myth, but few believed they still existed. The Vanguard Order was a group of guardians formed centuries ago to protect the galaxy from cosmic threats. Only individuals with exceptional courage and ability had ever been chosen. Rovan spoke clearly. "We invite you, Jace Ward, to become an apprentice of the Vanguard." The hall became silent again, heavy, shocked, breathless. Jace did not move. Zira watched him with pounding heart. She knew what this meant. It was not an honor. It was a burden, a dangerous one. Finally, Jace said, "I am honored, truly, but I'm still a student. I'm still learning." Rovan nodded. "The choice is yours. You may decline. But understand, the galaxy may need you sooner than you expect." Jace lowered his head for a moment, then looked up again. "I accept." The hall erupted with applause. Students cheered. Some even stood. Zira felt a strange mix of fear and pride as she clapped with them. She wondered if he truly understood the weight he had taken on. But knowing him, maybe he did. Later that day, after the hall emptied and the excitement faded, Zira found Jace sitting alone on a quiet bench near the Academy Gardens. He was looking at the distant mountains. "You said yes," she said, sitting beside him. "I had to," Jace replied. "You didn't," Zira said gently. "You always have a choice. You said that yourself." He smiled faintly. "Then maybe I chose wrong." "You didn't," she said. Jace looked at her. "How do you know?" "Because," Zira said, "if you didn't accept, someone else would have, and no one else would be as good as you." He blinked, surprised by her honesty. "I used to think humans were weak," Zira admitted. "Now I think they are something else entirely." "What do you think we are?" he asked. She tilted her head, studying him. I think humans are the species that never gives up, even when the universe turns dark. Jace laughed softly. That's a nice way to describe us. It's the truth, Zira said. They sat quietly for a while, letting the soft breeze wash over them. You know, Zira said after a moment, when I teased you before, I never imagined we would end up here. Jace smirked. To be fair, neither did I. And now you're part of some ancient guardian order, she continued. It feels unreal. It feels scary, he admitted. Zira looked at him with a warm, steady gaze. If you ever get scared, you can tell me. He turned to her with a surprised expression. Really? Yes, she said with a small smile. I'm still the girl who teased you, but I'm also your friend now. Jace felt something ease in his chest. I'm glad you are. Before Zira could respond, a small drone flew toward them. It projected a message. Apprentice Ward, it announced. Report to the Vanguard transport bay in 2 hours. Zira's heart tightened. You're leaving already? Just for training, Jace said. I'll be back. She nodded slowly, though she knew training with the Vanguard was not something ordinary. He might be gone for weeks, even months. Before you go, Zira said, I want you to promise something. What? Promise me you won't forget you're human. He blinked. Why would I? Because, Zira said, humans scare the galaxy sometimes, and they inspire it. But the way you acted, it was not because of your power. It was because of who you are. Jace looked at her carefully. I promise. Zira smiled, her eyes warm and calm. Good. 2 hours later, Jace stood at the transport bay. A tall Vanguard knight in silver armor waited beside a sleek ship. The knight bowed his head. Apprentice Ward, he greeted. Your path begins now. Jace took a long breath and stepped aboard. Zira watched from the balcony above. She didn't shout or wave. She just watched silently, trusting him, believing in him. The ship lifted slowly, engines humming gently. Then it shot into the sky, leaving a streak of silver light behind. Zira whispered softly to herself, Come back stronger, human. Far across the stars, Jace Ward looked out the ship window. The galaxy stretched before him, vast, mysterious, dangerous. And he smiled, because now he knew the truth. Humans were never lost. They were just waiting, and this time, the galaxy was not ready.